this morning would like to address something that I don't think I addressed it much in the past, which, I don't know, do you think it's important?
Yes.
Right. Why? Bones are the structure of our body, so if the structure is wrong, everything else will not really go too good. So just some facts. About 10 million Americans over the age of 50 experience osteoporosis, which means, we know what, does anyone does not know what osteoporosis is? Okay, so we all know it's like the weakening of the inside of the bones. And then about 34 million have bone mass below normal. And usually when we think of osteoporosis, we always think of women. But it's actually not just women. It's also men. About 2 million are men. And another 12 million men are in the at-risk group. Just an interesting fact, I met a young lady in early 20s, probably 23. And she was on steroids for about 3 to 5 years, I can't remember now. And at 23, her bone density was equivalent to somebody's in their 80s. At 23. It's just interesting. So half of all women over 50 who have low bone mass will suffer a fracture of their hip, spine, or wrist sometimes during their lifetime. And what's the risk with these fractures for those over 50? It's death is pretty much quite high among those who already have this condition. I have friends who, after the fall, I knew that was it. They would not recover. And also, research shows that a whole spectrum of nutrients is necessary for bone health. So the bones are constantly remodeling themselves, and the number of lifestyle factors determine their integrity. Now, of course, we have here some stages of osteoporosis to give you an idea. So genetics do play a role, but also lifestyle contribute greatly. And of course that the risk is higher as the age increases. Also, the unhealthy lifestyle habits include smoking, low calcium and vitamin D intake, sedentary lifestyle, inadequate sun exposure, high caffeine, soft drink, alcohol, or high salt consumption. All these are not the best friends for the bones. Also, what contributes, as I said, regular use of certain medications, especially steroids. They seem to really, really impact bone density. And also low levels of testosterone in men and menopause in women accelerate. Chronic diseases that affect the lungs, kidney, stomach, neck, glands, and intestine increase also the risk for osteoporosis. And then certain conditions such as diabetes, hyperthyroidism, rheumatoid arthritis, and chronic kidney disease also increase the risk of bone loss. Now, calcium is very essential in building strong bones. And I know that we know the old saying that, you need to drink your cup of milk, or how do they say it, kind of on that line. Now, the bad news that I have for you is that the dairy milk, although it's super high in calcium, our body does not absorb it. And the problem is, it's really quite a bad business, because you put a glass of milk and then it acidifies the blood so much that it has to draw the calcium that you already probably had on the low supply to manage to balance things in our bodies. So you're basically losing more than you gain when you eat any dairy products. So that's why the best sources for calcium are dark green leafy vegetables, dry fruit, legumes. When I say legumes, that's all the bean, lentil family. And fortified soy beverages contain some good levels of calcium. Now, always to be absorbed properly, it needs vitamin D. So the sunshine vitamin, it's very important. Even 15 minutes a day plays a big role in absorption of the vitamin D. So the best part is early in the morning when the sun comes up, at least for 15 minutes to be out there. It really helps to absorb. And during the day, if you are afraid, of getting sunburn, you can always use some nice clothing. Even through the clothing, it shows it penetrates. We're still getting a lot of good amount. These are some foods that are high in calcium, lots of the cruciferous vegetables, and we see almonds, pumpkins also, and avocado, celery, we have quite a variety that we find also around us here. Sesame seeds is an excellent source of calcium, by the way, a very good, and that we can use it in the form of tahini, and it has it's a great source of calcium. Now, also what affects the loss of calcium, it's the phosphoric acid in soft drinks that really decreases the absorption and actually increases the excretion of calcium. And then also, those who eat a lot of salt, that also we are losing a lot of calcium. Just eating more than, we all need salt. Don't get me wrong, I'm not into completely no salt diet because we do need salt. We are also counseled that we need some salt for the blood chemistry in order to have good, health. But when we talk about high sodium intake, normally we do eat much more than we need, especially those who eat fast foods, they do tend to eat much more salt than needed. And also, there is it's interesting, another thing that affects in a prospective study of middle-aged women, risk of hip fractures in high caffeine users was 3 times than of the non-caffeine users. And the use of only 1 ounce of alcohol per day more than double the risk of hip fractures compared to non-drinkers. So calcium excretion is actually a more important determinant of the calcium status than is calcium absorption. So on average, for every gram of sodium ingested, an additional 25 milligrams of calcium are lost. Now imagine, high salty diets, how much calcium we lose. So that's why, you might think you eat a lot, but if you do things that depletes the body, there is not a very good balance, and that's when we encounter a lot of problems. Some of the, as I say, calcium robbers are too much salt or fat, and protein is the animal protein. Plant protein does not rob our bodies from calcium. Oxalic and phytic acid, phosphoric acid, caffeine, alcohol, smoking, certain medications, especially steroids, long-term use of steroids can definitely weaken the bones, and lead. Now, this is only part 1. We'll continue with part 2. And I just want to also give you a Bible verse. A merry heart does good like a medicine, but a broken spirit dries the bone. Our mental state has a lot to do also with the absorption of nutrients. So, because if our state of mind is not right, we don't even absorb nutrients properly. So you may eat the right things, but if you don't have a peaceful mind, then it's very hard to absorb nutrients. So these are the references where I quoted all these facts, and we'll continue on the 4th Sabbath with part 2 on how to have better bone health.